Hello and welcome to this episode on my App Tutor TV. Today we're going to be creating this scene here. Well, I say this scene here, well, we're not going to create the background scene here. We're going to create this rainbow effect we see in the sky. Because as you can see, the image, the background image, is a stormy sky set over a field of wheat, and in my opinion, it should look good with a rainbow effect on it. So this is the rainbow effect, so what I'm going to do is just select this layer here and just press the backspace key, which will delete it, and then start from scratch. Now the first thing we want to do is we want to create a new layer. So this layer here is locked, it's the background. Let's create a new layer. We're just coming down to the new layer tab down here and clicking new layer, and let's do a bit of housekeeping. Let's rename this to rainbow. And then let's start creating our rainbow. The first thing we want to do is we want to create a selection area for our rainbow. Now I want it to be as wide as the image is here, and I want it to be, I'm just going to eyeball this. I'm going to go for about this wide here, about 3.63 centimeters, you can see there. Now we need to make sure that we have it on this layer here, the rainbow layer, and once we've got it, I'm then going to add my rainbow gradient into it, and we get that via the gradient tool here, which we can press this tool here, or we can press G on our keyboard, and that brings up our gradients here, and then we can select the one we want. Now the one I'm going to choose is this one here, which is, it comes in by default, but I've made a couple of changes to it. Let's just click on it and then just click on this in here and bring out the editor here. Now the changes I'm going to make is I'm just going to change some of the colors in here, because for example this cyan color here, in my opinion, is just a little bit too bright. I'm just going to change it to about 75%, as is this magenta color here. Let's just change this down to about 85% and click OK. I also believe that you have orange in a rainbow, so let's just click in this area here with the cursor, and it adds us another point. And what we need to do is we need to change that color. So let's double click in here, or just click in there. Let's go down to where the oranges are and make sure we got the good color orange here all the way to the top here, so it's reasonably bright, and click OK. Then all we need to do is we just need to space these out a little bit more, so they're not too bunched together like they are at the minute. And once you're happy with that, let's just click OK, and then that gives us our gradient selection up here. Then all we need to do is draw our gradient. So I'm going to start at the top of the selection we got here and drag down. Now if you press the shift button, you can constrain it. As you can see here, it's not a straight line down or a vertical line. If I press shift, it'll lock to going perfectly vertical. I'm going to draw all the way to the bottom and then release, and that gives me my rainbow, as we can see here. The next thing I need to do is I need to change this into this beautiful bow or arc of the rainbow, and the way we do that is we can come up to the edit button here and select the free transform tool here, or we can simply press Ctrl T on our keyboard, and then we need to come up here and press this little button here, which switches between free transform and warp modes. If we click on that, we then get our warp mode outline around the selection we had, and then we can choose a custom warp here. So I'm going to click on this and I'm going to choose the arc, and you see it gives us our nice arc here. However, I just need to change the bend from 50%, because it's only changing it 50 to about 90, and then click OK. Naturally it's too big now, it's going outside of our image, so I'm just going to drag it down so I can see the corner of our object here, and then I'm going to hold shift down to constrain the vertical and the horizontal proportions, and then I'm going to click and drag to the size I want, and I want it to be about here in the image, so that the one end of it is sort of a third of the way through the wheat field here, and the other end is going off the edge of the screen here. When I'm happy with the size I want, I'm just going to click on the check here to confirm those changes. Now I want this to be able to blend into the wheat field here, so all I'm going to do is grab the eraser tool, ensure that I choose a nice soft brush here of a reasonable size. Let's just change the size here so it's a little bit bigger. I'm happy with that. Change the opacity down to about, well, that's 12% here, that should probably do us, and then just start erasing the bottom of the rainbow here. Now it'll take a few clicks and that to get it. And the reason why I put it at 12% is because I wanted a little bit of fall off into the wheat field here, and that'll probably do us about there. Once we're happy with that, let's just click off it, and then let's apply a Gaussian blur to this rainbow. So with that selected, let's go up to Filter, down to Blur, and down to Gaussian blur. And you can't currently see it here at the minute, but there it is, preview. I reckon between 5 and 7 is probably a good amount for a rainbow, and then click OK. Now it's looking a bit bright in there. We can actually come here and turn off this mask if we wanted to, and I'm just going to Control Z here and Control Alt Z, because what we really should have done is deselected the mask, then selected our layer, and then applied our Gaussian blur so we don't get any hard edges. So those are the settings we want once again, and click OK. And there's our rainbow. It's a bit vivid at the minute, so we need to change that. The way we're going to do that is by changing the blend mode. So at the moment we have normal up here. Let's change this to linear light. And what first appears is this very garish appearance of our rainbow. So what we need to do is we just need to change the fill value here. We slide it all the way down to about 15% will probably do you, and then click off it, and there we've got our rainbow. There's one last thing I wanted to do. I don't often see a rainbow in nature that goes all the way over to the side here, so what I wanted to do is I want it to sort of blend from not being much this side to the rainbow effect here, and the way we do that is apply a gradient mask. So the first thing we need to do is add a mask to it, so make sure we have this layer selected, come down to the mask icon down here, click on it, and then we get our mask. And what we need to do is then add a gradient fill into this gradient. Now you need to make sure that the mask is selected here. This would be the rainbow selected, so make sure you click on the mask, and when it's selected, let's go back up to the gradient tool, and then we need to select this gradient here, which is the black and white. And essentially what's going to happen is when I draw from this side here to say about there, black will make the rainbow invisible and white will make it visible. So I'm just going to actually do it a bit more perhaps. A little bit of trial and error here, because you see I'm still drawing over that mask, and that'll probably do us. So let's deselect everything. I'm going to press F on my keyboard to go to the different view modes, and here we go, full screen. There is our beautiful rainbow on our wheat field.